as you come in, you see Brandon out there saying, "Let's not let this divide us." Well, that's exactly what he wants. How did you know I was going to talk about that? That's exactly where I'm going. Is that he's lying there? That's exactly what he does want, along with all of his cronies that he listens to, and his controllers. Hello, everyone. Today's the 14th of October, 2021, and it is Thursday. And of course, Thursdays I usually try to do a live stream, even if it's not a formal situation, as this one is not. Uh, Again, hello, thank you for letting me know it's 5 by 5. Eric, I appreciate that very, very much. Okay, let me get right into this. The first thing is what's in the description box below. There are a couple of things that I want you to look at. I know some of you follow the Patriot Nurse. I know others don't necessarily want to follow her or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that she does a lot of good work. I know a lot of people think she's, a Zionist or whatever, but I've listened to her for a long time, and I have a lot of respect for her. So go ahead and listen to her presentation. It's about 20 minutes long, and it talks about that you should not feel that there's something wrong with you because you're not like everybody else that's going along with all this madness and insanity. Okay, it's very good. I think it'll do you a good number for you to listen to it. And she's right down the middle. She's smack dab on center on that, right in on the target. And that kind of goes along with the theme today. Just as somebody put up just a few minutes ago that Biden says that he doesn't want these things to divide us. Well, what he's saying is what he means is he doesn't want us to resist his tyranny. That he doesn't want us to resist his tyranny and the tyranny of the New World Order and of the military-industrial complex, the medical complex, industrial complex, the intelligence complex, etc. That's what he means. In other words, you're a terrorist, just like Bush said, if you're not with us, you're with the terrorists. You see that? That's been the theme from Bush, at least since George W. Bush, all the way down through today. And I see these people still. That's why I'm upset today, actually. I'm not in a good mood. I still see these people extolling the virtues of Trump, and I want to ask myself, what virtues are you talking about? I'm not here to lambaste Trump today because Biden is showing evil. The problem is people will not still, to this day, other than saying, gee, I hope he doesn't make the same mistakes and if he gets into office the next time they made the last time. They weren't mistakes. This is all part of a program, and he was a part of it. And Biden is a lying piece of crap, as most of you know. Or he's so out of it, although he's always been against the Constitution and the idea of God-given rights protected by the Constitution. He's always been against that. But at this point in time, if he is not putting on a show of pretension that he's got dementia, regardless, he's still going down the road of tyranny and all of that. So he came out with and the White House came out with the concept, of course, with all this medical stuff that's going on, and it's not medical, it has nothing to do with medicine. And I think most of you know that. It has to do with plain, unadulterated tyranny. Well, he says that they now want to have checkpoints. Basically, this is what it's saying, checkpoints along the interstates for interstate travel. In the description box below, along with the Patriot Nurse's video, I have 2 links. I know one's to Wikipedia, and people say, Wikipedia, that's a horrible source. It depends on how you use it, okay? In this situation, it'll give you a little information, and you can also use it for sourcing other resources, okay? So don't give me a problem on that, all right? It's for your benefit. I didn't do it because I rely on Wikipedia. I hope you all understand that. So there's the Wikipedia link, and then there's another link to a law center. And it explains that the Constitution under Article 4 guarantees interstate travel, free, unadulterated, uninterfered travel between states. Unhindered, unhindered, unhindered free travel between states. There's been a lot of case law on that. But don't kid yourself. I do not rely on the Constitution and that the government will be held accountable according to it, okay? They're lawless. Each branch of government today is illegitimate and lawless. The Constitution means nothing to them, okay? I'm not kidding myself. So Biden violating the Constitution, of course, is par for the course. The government is your enemy. The government is slavery, just like Bettini used to say, and Legal Man says. The government is thievery, legalized thievery. The government is legalized murder and genocide and humanicide. And it's been that way really bad in the 20th century and now on into the 21st. So I don't have any illusions that citing Article 4 of the Constitution, stating that we have the right to travel between the states unhindered, is anything that the government will bind itself by and obey. Quite to the contrary. Because the purpose, as this video says, the purpose of everything that you see happening is to cut people off from each other, to ruin the relationships between people, particularly men and women and families and friends. Just like they tried to close, well, just like the taverns and the churches were areas where people were able to gather and talk about the tyranny of King George during the Revolution. They saw that and they're trying to stop us from communicating now. What's the first thing you do when you plan a war? You interdict the lines of communication. Here we are. And nobody, and I get so sick and tired of even these retired military people that just refuse to understand that this has been an ongoing process and that Trump was actually a part of it. Biden, of course, has taken it to the next level. But that's the whole idea. In a game of volleyball or in basketball or even in like tennis, well, not so much tennis, but the idea is one player sets up the play for another player who then makes the score, right? One sets it up and the other one takes the shot. Well, that's what happened here between Trump and Biden. And nobody is going to convince me otherwise because Trump will not come out. As a matter of fact, he's still pushing his OWS, which is, if you've been following me and all these other people that the mainstreams would like to get rid of because, we're talking around their talking points. We're getting around their stuff, at least so far. Their efforts to shut us up. You know that this thing isn't even about a sickness. It's about ultimate control. It is about surveillance. It is about the Internet of Bodies, the Internet of Things. So, Biden has come out now in his administration, and of course, the gas prices are going up. They're talking about electric cars. Never mind that the electric grid cannot handle the types of electric cars that they want to put out there en masse, which means they're really going to cut down on your transportation is really what they're talking about. You're not going to have any. And David Knight's done a good job on covering that, by the way, if you've been following him. So the point is now, in violation of the Constitution, which again does not surprise me, don't think that I think that we're going to have some protection by going into the courts and depending upon the courts to sustain our rights under Article 4. I'm not kidding myself. The point is, the Balkanization isn't something that they haven't planned. The breakup of the United States isn't something that they haven't planned. They want it. Their New World Order, Chinese agents. They're agents of evil that are actually accomplishing the purposes of God, and they think it's for themselves. Okay? I still don't like it because I know what evil lurks in their hearts that's making them go that way. Even though I know they're playing into the really overall plan of God. Okay, I understand that because I've told you it's a separation of the wheat and the tares, right? It's a separation of the right and the wrong. But this thing with halting interstate travel based upon this passport situation, read between the lines, your acquiescence to receiving a treatment, a procedure, as a condition for all these things, just like what's happening in Australia, Canada, etc. We're just a little bit behind, but it's definitely on the way, and they keep pushing it. And yes, it is to divide us. It is to cause balkanization. It is to cause strife. It is, in the end, to cause bloodshed. And they are fomenting it. So the Balkanization and division, the breakup of the United States isn't coming. It's not in the future. It's here. And frankly, as I've said, we have to accept it and embrace it. The thing is as Patriot Nurse says in the video in the description box below, you have to stand strong, knowing that you're doing the right thing by standing on principle, even if you're the only person that's doing it. Standing on principle, even when it's inconvenient, because most of the world will not. So we're at the point now where they're deliberately taking steps to divide the country up. So the banks can come in and take over even more. That's where we are. Let me move to the Second Amendment, which would make sense, right? By the way, this is water and lemon lime juice, just so you know. It's too early in the morning for me to do anything else. Actually, it's not even morning now. Just turned a little afternoon. I went out to breakfast this morning. You all, that's no surprise to anybody. I haven't been to an IHOP. I think the last time I was in an IHOP was probably 10 years ago. And I went there today, and I was pleasantly surprised. The food was pretty good. I had a spinach mushroom omelet. And I normally don't get pancakes because it's just a little bit too much carbohydrate and makes me kind of sluggish, which is kind of why I'm in a bad mood today, because I don't like feeling sluggish. And but they were good. Like I said, it's the first time I've had real buttermilk pancakes in a long time. Normally I would have gotten fruit or something like that, but I decided to do the pancakes, and so I enjoyed that this morning, just so you know. But I got to clean myself out now with a little lemon lime juice and water. Okay, so the Second Amendment, which follows the information and the discussion that we've had so far. Take a nap? Oh, I probably will have to, yeah. Because carbohydrate really, really brings me down. It really does. Okay. I'm just going to talk plainly here. I think I can do that. The Second Amendment wasn't given us for hunting purposes. And back in the 70s, when I first started getting into things, I was very upset at the NRA for the way they tried to, or it said they thought they needed to defend the Second Amendment by talking about the rights of hunters. And even at the age of 17, I wrote the NRA and I said that's not the purpose of the Second Amendment, to guarantee hunting rights. It's to protect the citizens against criminals, and especially the criminals in government. And because they just never get there. They just never get there because they're afraid that they'll get in trouble with the government for saying that. And of course it's true. It's illegal to say that the Second Amendment, it's not so much illegal, it's the way that the government uses it. It uses their position against you, saying you're an insurrectionist, when they're the insurrection. They're the ones that are violating the Constitution. But, they got the guns and the bullets and the people, right? So you have to use a little discretion. But the fact of the matter is that the Second Amendment was not put in there for hunting rights, not even for self-defense against somebody coming into your house. I mean, that's certainly useful for that. Or a wild animal out in the wilderness, if you're out camping or whatever, and you get attacked by a cougar or a bear, it's kind of nice to have a weapon that will take care of the problem, right? That's not why the Second Amendment's there. The Second Amendment is so that it holds the government at bay. Well, I have friends, former law enforcement, current law enforcement, former military, current military, not too many current military now. That's actually not true. Most of the guys I knew are out. But at any rate, regular citizens that have been such strong Second Amendment supporters, they're members of the NRA and, all these different gun rights groups and all that. And I've been telling them that this day is coming, and they've known it. They've understood. You know what they're doing? You know what they're doing? They're burying their weapons. They're hiding their weapons. They're making them inaccessible to them when the government comes to drag them out of their houses and put them in these camps, these quarantine camps, or take their child away from them. What is wrong with my friends? What is wrong with these people? Why is it that they're so afraid to use a right that's theirs? A right is a responsibility, and they're going to hide all this stuff? Now, bear me out here. I understand that it's sometimes better to use a little discretion so that you can fight another day under the right circumstances. I understand that. But they're not doing it for that reason. They're doing it because they want to have their property. They don't want their property to protect their families with. They just want their property. So, in their own actions, they've turned their back on the Second Amendment. Again, there might be some discretion here, where when that first wave comes through and they come to whatever, you can't get your food if you don't turn in your Second Amendment tools. If you don't have the medical procedure, you're not going to be able to keep your Second Amendment tools, whatever. So there is some kind of a strategy there, but again, I don't see that as the reason why they're doing it, because I'm convinced that most of these people who are my friends, who I thought were men, are hiding their tools right when they might be the most important. I'm very disappointed, and yet I can't say I'm surprised. So right when they're absolutely needed, they refuse to band together under any kind of, and I've said, start up you go to the state government, go to your county sheriff and be a posse member. Do something so that you can continue to have these tools, as Monty calls them, the metal protectors, handy at all times. Oh no, no. We're gonna go hide them. I saw a thing on Twitter the other day. I think it was in Britain. It may have been in Italy. I'm not sure where. But a woman was asking where the men are that will protect the women and children. The men cower away and don't do anything. And then I see people like Patriot Nurse, like Bettina, like Dana Leash, even Tulsi Gabbard. I see women like that. And I wonder, where the hell are the men? Ted Cruz. All this horrible stuff is going on. Oh, he's brave enough to go down on the border and talk about the border situation, but he won't talk about this war on America, this bioweapon, and this entire system of binary bioweapons that are being released on the American people, and the great financial change, which is to make us all serfs and slaves. Oh no, he's not going to talk about that. And neither will Rand Paul. I heard David Knight talk today about the situation that's really true about the Foxtrot Delta Alpha. Okay, read between the lines there what that is. Uh, and when I was a police officer, and even in the military and other things, you have internal rules and regulations that you have to follow according to that, right? And if you fail to follow those rules and regulations, you can be civilly sued. Well, you can be fired, first of all. And then if you cause some problem out while you're not following those rules and regulations and policies, you can be sued civilly and sometimes criminally prosecuted. Okay? And there's a right of discovery on the victim's part. If you violate those rules and policies and regulations of your internal organization, and there's a victim, there's somebody that gets injured because of that, you're not only personally liable, you can be criminally liable as well. Well, that was true in the government for a long time. That's changed quite a bit with the immunity regulations that they have now. But there was a situation where people are trying to get the use FOIA and other information to get the data that the Foxtrot Delta Alpha used to authorize these procedures. Again, read between the lines, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, as David Knight pointed out, they violated their own internal rules, regulations, and policies, which then would mean that they're open to civil and possibly even criminal liabilities. But they're refusing to give the data. Well, of course, the courts are going to protect them in that because they're all government agencies or pseudo-government agencies like the CDC. All right? I understand that. But the fact of the matter is that the states have the power, maybe not the motivation or the courage, like Abbott's gone just a little ways, DeSantis has gone a little further. But the states could do it. When they say that they're not going to follow the rules set down by Biden or by OSHA or by any of these other bureaucratic, unconstitutional institutions that have been formed, the states could use not just FOIA, but going into court and doing discovery. The AGs could do that. There might be different problems with standing, because saying that you don't have standing is a good way to cop out for the courts to not handle this. But the AGs have got to be smart enough to get around it if they have the courage to do it. So regardless of the emergency that was declared, which emergencies can't last for months and months and months. This is ridiculous. But regardless of that, the data is still public information. And in a court proceeding, in a criminal or a civil proceeding, discovery has the right to get that information. Interesting. All right. So that was a good point that David Knight made, and that's where we are. The reason why they're hiding the data is because the data can't support what they're doing. So they have to make it up. And you notice it changes all the time, which is not only a psychological warfare tactic keeping you on your toes, never sure where the enemy is or where they're going to hit you next with this information that constantly changes. But it's also to hide the evidence of their criminality. And no one, not even Rand Paul, has the courage to do anything about it. And yet people are still saying, oh, Trump, if he could just get in 2024, oh, if we could just get the right people in 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, there will never be another legitimate election in this country as it's presently constituted. Ever. So that was what I thought I'd bring up today. I don't have any solutions other than to say, as I kind of talked about yesterday, there's nothing wrong with going to your, and I didn't mean to say that there's something wrong or that you're necessarily totally wasting your time by going directly to your state capitals and other government areas and demonstrating against what's going on and demanding that this nonsense stop. But you got to understand where the power centers are. And I really do believe that if and it's going to be probably more difficult, or at least as difficult, to change the position of some of your church leaders, the way they're supporting these government intrusions. You might have a harder time changing them than actually your state legislators. But my point was that that's the level where the difference was made in 1775 on to 1789. Okay, that's where the difference was made. And the legislators are going to look at the power centers, which of course are the what? The pharmacy companies, the Soros-related type organizations, the Federal Reserve, the federal money. I understand that. But if you can change the churches, if you can get them to get rid of these criminals that are running their organizations, these traitors, these liars, and these deceivers who are looking more for attention from the government than actually paying the price for being the representatives of the Most High and taking care of the flock. If you can get that change, that'll be a big, big player in the near future. And it'll really, the bottom line is it's going to show you who these people are. It's going to smoke out the bad players that have deceived you all this time and kept you from doing the things that you need to do. Okay? All right. Is there anything else? Let's see if I can answer a few questions here. I don't want to take too long. I've got some other things to do. What was this now? Yeah, no, the government won't arrest itself. I think we've seen that. The entire Trump presidency where nothing ever happened to anybody. He didn't even bother to, Trump didn't even bother to pardon Assange or Snowden. No, he pardons, real criminals. Trump proved that he's just one of their players. Tyler Gabriel for vice president? I won't comment on that. I would say no. That's an interesting point, Monica. Thanks for saying that. You're saying that the more police, military, firefighters, etc., can be used in, and I'm not going to say local militias are fine, but people still need to make a living. So the states, the good states that offer, like Texas, I told you before that Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, who was a congressman for Florida, moved to Texas and was brought into the Texas militia, not the National Guard, the state militia. And I think he held his rank as lieutenant colonel in that organization. So it's sponsored under a competent state authority. Yes, that's the way to go. Again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with forming your community like neighborhood watches, but armed units, trained and all that. That's fine. Just realize that the more that you do that, the more likely it's going to be that you're going to be infiltrated by those dirty, rotten um, fibbers. Read between the lines. The fibbers. Fibbers. Take the F and you get the idea. Uh, I don't look at it as being an organization of fidelity, bravery, and integrity. That's a joke. They're fibbers, so that's what I call them now, fibbers. It's a lot more serious than that, but you get the idea. But yeah, but then again, the other side of that is who's going to be watching these checkpoints along the interstates? Who is going to come and take you out of your home and take you to a quarantine camp? Because all the good people are being purged out of our institutions. They made sure they got rid of the good brass 10, 15 years ago. And then we end up with people like Milley and Austin and Kelly and Mattis. What the hell was Trump doing putting Mattis in there? Unbelievable. Would I be willing to form a militia? No. You have fed DNOC? Of course not. No. Look, I'm former military, first of all, and there are real problems with that. Now, I'm not, thank you, Liza Jean. I'm not retired military, so I don't have the same, and that's a long story. My career was really messed up by my enemies, okay? I'm surprised I made it to lieutenant colonel. I couldn't believe that. But they all got in there and did things. But you know what? It was God actually working behind the scenes. Even though I didn't end up with the type of retirement that I could have, I wouldn't have been able to speak freely. Because what they did to Lieutenant Colonel Scheller is what they really ought to be doing to Mattis, Hayden, Petraeus, etc. Even Milley. But no, they went after Scheller because he told the truth about their criminality and their inability to actually perform their jobs. That they're unaccountable. So what happened was I'm not under the restrictions of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and I can call those rat-ass bastards out because of it. And I do. You're all, Milley, all of you, Milley and Austin, you're rat-ass bastards. Pricks and traitors to the core. So in other words, getting back to your point, no, I won't do that. Will I help my family defend itself or my friends? Yeah. But if I'm going to act in any kind of a paramilitary capacity, I'm going to a local sheriff to get on the posse, or as Lieutenant Colonel Allen West did, go to a formal state militia that's under competent authority of the governor. All right? That's the way it's going to be. And that's primarily because of, like I said, my military background. It's kind of, even though I'm not retired, it's kind of a requirement under the circumstances, so I'm going to abide by that. Now, the other thing is this. I was at Bundy Ranch, okay? I will stand by those who are going to defend themselves. But I was not a member of any militia there. I wasn't a member of the Oath Keepers, the 3 Percenters, or any of that. I was there to record and report and to defend the innocent if somebody tried to attack the innocent. I mean, those rat-ass BLM people were up in the hills with sniper rifles pointed at picnic tables with women and children. The cowardly bastards. And many of them, as I found out later, were not even American citizens. Those BLM guys with their uniforms on, their badges, they were very likely not even American citizens. And I think that's why they didn't actually, because I was scheduled actually by certain parts of the defense to be brought in as a witness, okay? And they never did it because I think there were some deals made behind the scenes because they didn't want me to come in there and tell them what I saw. All right? And the FBI did try to set me up. Okay? They came and there were two of them. There were more than that there, but these two were supposedly friends of an acquaintance of mine. Yeah, right. And they came and took me to lunch. This was 2 days before the final standoff, okay, at the corrals off of I-15. So they knew it was coming. They were planning the whole thing, okay? And they pulled me aside, took me to lunch, and said, "Roy, you know, you're such a good guy. You could be a great leader. Why don't you take the people out there and just, tell them to just peacefully lay down in front of the corrals and not move?" And in other words, they wanted me to do this Gandhi thing, right? What they really wanted was me to be at the corral so that they could say I was doing something that I never would do. And I know who they are. And the person that set me up knows what he did. And he knows I told him a couple of days before that I didn't appreciate some of the other things he did. You never know. Your friends will turn against you for money, for promises of power, or promises that they won't be fully prosecuted, that they'll be given a deal. You will be sold out. So am I going to be a member of a militia that's not under a competent state or county authority? Hell no. So don't ever ask me again. Yeah, Trump is still part of the problem. I agree. I'm going to go down to the end of the list here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, thank you, Liza Jean. Again, finding like-minded people is the way to go. Uh, there's not. Again, I'm not saying you all can't set up little militias. I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm saying because that's a legitimate thing as long as you're not doing. And this is the trap. Look what they did to the Minnesota militia, or was it the Michigan militia? One of the two. They got the feds in there and then accused them of things they didn't do. Right? Look at the situation with the supposed plan to kidnap Governor Whitmer of Michigan. All bullshit. All a lie. All a Fed FBI entrapment scheme. Look what they did at January 6th at the Capitol. That's all coming out now. They're going to try to cover it up. They'll find some poor little, lowly agent or officer to blame the whole thing on, like they did with, what was his name, that attorney who changed the email. Right? There was an email that was changed. I forget that attorney's name that worked for the FBI, but he changed the email to make it look like it was a crime. And nothing really happened to him. I think he was charged with a misdemeanor. Should have been a felony. That's altering official records. So nothing surprises me with these people. They're evil. Do you understand it, ladies and gentlemen? It's just like Patriot Nurse says in the video below. Maybe 10% of the world's population, maybe, is decent. The rest of them are out for themselves and they don't give a crap about anybody else. Oh, a little bit here and there. But when push comes to shove, they don't have principle. Do you? Are you going to be part of the principle? The principled group? All right, I've pontificated enough. I won't go. I won't go any further today. For one reason is I want you to go down and listen to Patriot Nurse. She can preach like few other preachers can. Uh, she's pretty good. Yeah, Liza Jean. Their desperation to jab everybody is really telltale. All right, obviously. I mean, all the somersaults that they've gone through to try to force this down everybody's throat, and now, of course, with the threats of violence to us, that tells you it's not about what they claim it is, and that's really people like Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Trump, all those people. If they won't come out and say what this is really about, whether out of fear or out of complicity, they're evil. Okay? Because millions of people's lives are at stake. And they fail to act. In a lot of places, they refuse to act. And that will not go well for them in the judgment, if you believe in those types of things. Yeah, the new virus, of course, they have. I've said from the beginning that they're using binary bioweapons systems. I know that. And a lot worse stuff is out there. A lot of it's being caused merely by the present procedure itself, if you've been following that. The way these supposed things evolve has been changed because of this program that they're doing, and they did it on purpose. All right, like I said, I probably talked long enough. It's been almost 45 minutes. So please go watch Patriot Nurse. Look at those things about Article 4 of the Constitution, that the right to travel unhindered is a God-given right protected by the Constitution, and that doesn't mean the Constitution doesn't mean anything anymore. Okay, I'm just pointing out that Biden's making another obvious, in-your-face violation of the law that he swore to defend. He's a liar and a deceiver, but they all have been, and so is those of you who love Trump so much. Your beloved Trump was a liar and deceiver as well, and will continue so to be. Out here for now, everybody. Take care.